Hey YouTube, Brian LCS. Thanks for stopping by the channel. In this video, Miles Morales Spider-Man number 18 review. And this is Legacy issue number 300. So we have a supersized issue here. And what's different about this issue is typically when you have these milestone issues, there's some secondary stories, or Marvel will usually have a couple different artists do some backup stories. But this is a full, I think it's 48 pages, and it's all of the main story. So I was actually pretty surprised to see that, and glad they did that. So take a look at the creative team here. Cody Ziegler writing, and there's a bunch of different artists in this issue because of the the number of pages. So there they are. I'm not going to read all the names because I'll probably just end up butchering them. So we pick up where we last left off, where Miles has put together this team with Miss Marvel and Shift, one of his clones, and they are trying to hunt down Rabble. Miles wants to end this ongoing story that's with Rabble because she's been kind of really after him and a thorn in his side for really 18 issues since the beginning of this run. And so we see the team here. They're after some of Rabble's drones. They're trying to figure out where she is. They don't know where she is, and so Miles wants to find her and confront her, and hopefully put this, back and forth with her, to bed. And so they run into the Bumbler. It's Bumbler. Yes, Bumbler. One of kind of the B villains that Miles deals with. But he has been souped up a little bit, elevated. Some of his technology has been elevated by Rabble. And so we see he's kind of shooting, since he's a bee, some honey. Miss Marvel, is like, ew. And so they're trying to track down, Rabble. And so that's why they're after him, because maybe Bumbler can lead them to Rabble. And so, we see this kind of back and forth fight. And ultimately, we see them, going through the drones here, and Bumbler basically goes and hides out in the bar with no name. The bar with no name is, a bar where superheroes and villains can go to unwind. And the rules are that there's no fighting in the bar with no name. And so Miles tracks Bumbler there, but the bartender points out that it's 21 plus. And so Miles gets laughed out of the bar. And so he has to call in his uncle, who happens to be the Prowler, to help out. And so that's what he does here. And then we cut to Rabble, and she's talking with Agent Gale, who has been part of the mayor's task force to try to hunt down caped heroes. Wilson Fisk had put some laws in place, but they are just about being revoked. So Agent Gale was pretty upset about it, and is going to try to make a deal with Rabble and her team for maybe a little bit of revenge at Miles. So we kind of see this discussion back and forth with them, with Gale and Rabble. And then we cut back to the bar with no name. I'm getting a little bit of glare here, sorry. And we see, Prowler and Scorpion talking, back and forth. Scorpion is part of the, the Cape Killers, Agent Gale's task force. And so now, Prowler has been sent in there by Miles to track down Bumbler. And we see, he finds him, and then there's this little, scuffle. And ultimately, Bumbler gets away, but the Prowler is able to find some tech from his suit, and calls Miles, and they start to analyze the little technology, and they're able to pick up on Rabble's signal, and I think they're going to be able to use to trace Rabble. And then we cut to Rabble, and we see Rabble, out of costume, and she's going to visit her dad. And that's really what's driving her. Her mother had died, and her dad is in what seems to be a nursing home, and he seems to have loss of memory. There's a point where he doesn't remember that Rabble is his daughter, and then at some point he remembers. And so they kind of have this conversation, and Rabble kind of reminds him that she's going to try to make things right. And we see this little drone technology that she leaves to keep an eye on her dad. And then we cut to the Cape Killers here. They're trying to stop a robbery or some bad guys and going on here. And we see a little battle here, back and forth, Taskmaster, and a lot of action here. And then ultimately, they are victorious. They stop the villains here, and then there's some discussion about the laws being revoked and superheroes not being outlawed in New York City any longer. And she says that's true, but if you help me with this one last mission, we'll make sure that any of your sentences, any of your jail time is pardoned. And so they agree. They agree. So we'll see where that leads. And now we see Miles trying to track down Rabble now that he has a signature, a computer signature that he can follow. And we see the Cape Killers, and we see Agent Gaio in some technology here, in a tech suit. And so she's been powered up by Rabble. And so we have this kind of big battle now between Miles and the Cape Killers. And then ultimately, there's a lot of back and forth, and we see Miles using some of his new powers here. And then ultimately, his team comes in, and so we end up seeing, Prowler and Miss Marvel and Starling and Shift all come in. And now there's this big, fight. We basically have these two teams on opposite sides, and they are battling. And so we got a lot of action, fight scene, basically some really great art, a really nice splash page here. Let me see if I can get rid of the glare. There you go. And this continues. We kind of see this back and forth, and then ultimately, Spider-Man and Rabble are kind of trading blows. One getting the upper hand, and then the other. And then ultimately, we see that Rabble has some type of, in her technologies that she has provided to the Cape Killers, there's some type of control collar that she invokes and basically pushes all of the Cape Killers to, kind of like peak performance here, high endurance, high strength, really kind of pushing them, on a adrenaline high. And again, we see this now, this fight happen with the stakes being a little bit even higher now that the Cape Killers are, a little bit additionally powered. And so, again, another really nice splash page. Let me get rid of that glare for you. Some good looking art. And then ultimately, Starling says to Miles, to Spider-Man, basically, go take care of Rabble. You and Rabble finish it. We'll handle the rest of the team here. And so that's what we see. And again, we see this kind of back and forth between Rabble and Miles. They're pretty evenly matched. And then we see the Cape Killers with the technology that Rabbles provide, really kind of starting to get the upper hand on the heroes here. And so again, we continue to see this back and forth with Miles and Rabble, and they're really kind of going toe to toe. And then ultimately, they're both Miles and Rabble are beaten up, and being pushed to the edge here. And then Miles kind of has a breakdown. He sees that shift, and some of his other heroes are being beaten. And he basically says, "Look, Rabble, we need to finish this because and the last line is because I promise you're never getting a better shot." And so that's where we kind of leave off. That's to be continued. I don't know if we have a preview for next issue. Nope, I don't think we do. So that is Miles Morales Spider-Man number 18. Overall, artwork was fantastic. I thought the story was good. This kind of back and forth with Rabble. I've heard somebody mentioned in a review that they did that they feel like the Rabble storyline is dragging out, but Rabble is really supposed to be, one of Miles' villains that's going to be sticking around, kind of like Spider-Man, Peter Parker's Green Goblin. And so, the Rabble storyline has been going on now for 18 issues, basically since issue 1 of the series. So I can see that a little bit, but I think the fact that we know that Rabble is going to be around for a while, to me, that makes sense. So overall, this was kind of a quick read, although it was an oversized issue. But I like the fact that they kept it one storyline. The main storyline didn't put in a bunch of filler stories. And like I said, artwork was fantastic. A quick read. I'm not sure if we've moved the storyline along. We still got Miles and Rabble going toe to toe, but it seems like based on the way this issue wrapped up, that hopefully we'll have some type of conclusion in the next issue, in issue 19. So overall, I thought it was a great, a good issue. Let me put it that way. Great from an art standpoint, in the fact that they didn't fill this issue with, and I've said it a few times now, with a bunch of B stories. So thinking about my 5 webhead system, 5 being the best, one webhead being the worst. We're going to go right in the middle, 2.5. We'll go 3. 3 from the fact that the art was outstanding and that it was extra story, and it was the main story, no fillers. So I'm going to go 3 webheads. Let me know what you thought if you're reading this, and what do you think of the artwork in these issues. Like I said, I really think it's been outstanding. So that's what I got for you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you for issue 19 soon.